The first time I saw the house, it didn't feel real. It stood quietly along the edge of the ocean, soft waves brushing against the shore like a lullaby that never ended. The paint was a gentle cream, the windows wide and open to the sea breeze, and the wooden deck wrapped around it like a warm embrace. I had spent 2 years saving, planning, sacrificing, everything, for this moment. My parents' 50th anniversary deserved more than a dinner or a gift box. They deserved something lasting, something that said thank you for every silent sacrifice they had made for me. When I handed them the keys, my mother's hands trembled. My father didn't speak at first, he just stared at me, his eyes glassy, like he was afraid to blink and wake up from a dream. That night, we sat on the porch together, watching the sun melt into the ocean. My mom whispered, "This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done for us." And in that moment, every sleepless night, every extra shift, every dollar saved felt worth it. For the first few weeks, everything was perfect. They moved in slowly, filling the house with laughter, old songs, and the smell of my mom's cooking drifting through the open windows. I visited often, sometimes just to sit with them in silence, listening to the waves. It felt like peace had finally found our family. Then my in-laws came to visit. At first, it seemed harmless. They congratulated my parents, praised the house, and joked about how lucky they were. My mother-in-law, especially, couldn't stop commenting on how wasted such a big home would be on just 2 people. I brushed it off as her usual bluntness. My parents, always polite, welcomed them warmly. But something shifted after that visit. The next time I came by, I noticed unfamiliar furniture in the living room. Loud colors, flashy designs that clashed with the calm, coastal feel my parents loved. My mom looked uncomfortable when I asked about it. "Oh, your in-laws suggested a few upgrades," she said carefully. My father stayed quiet, staring at the floor. Then came the guests. Cars lined the driveway, strangers laughing, music blasting, people walking in and out like it was a vacation rental. I stood there, confused, my chest tightening. Inside, my mother-in-law was hosting what looked like a full-blown party. Drinks in hand, loud voices, someone dancing on the deck. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely steady. She smiled like nothing was wrong. "Oh, we decided to make better use of the space. Such a beautiful property shouldn't sit idle, right? We're hosting small events. It's profitable." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. "This isn't a business," I said. "It's my parents' home." My father-in-law laughed dismissively. "Relax. We're helping them. Extra income, lively atmosphere, it's good for them." I turned to my parents, hoping they'd say something. But my mother just looked down, her hands clasped tightly together. My father avoided my eyes. That silence hurt more than anything. Over the next few weeks, things spiraled. The house I had gifted with love turned into something unrecognizable. Loud weekends, strangers constantly coming and going, rooms being rearranged, even parts of the house listed online for short-term rentals without my knowledge. My in-laws had taken control, slowly but completely. And my parents, they were fading into the background of their own home. One evening, I found my mother sitting alone on the back steps, away from the noise. The ocean was still there, still calm, but she looked anything but peaceful. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked softly. She gave a weak smile. "We didn't want to cause problems. They said they were helping. Your father thought maybe it would keep things exciting. But are you happy?" I pressed. Her silence answered everything. That night, as music thumped through the walls and strangers laughed in rooms that were meant to hold memories, I realized something painful. This wasn't just about a house anymore. It was about boundaries, respect, and the quiet way people can take something beautiful and reshape it into something unrecognizable. And I knew I couldn't let it continue. The next morning, I arrived earlier than usual. The house was unusually quiet, the aftermath of the previous night scattered across the living room, empty glasses, crumpled napkins, and the lingering smell of spilled alcohol. It felt like walking into a place that had forgotten its purpose. I stood there for a long moment, remembering the day I first handed over the keys, how full of love everything had felt. Now, it felt like I was standing in someone else's property. I found my parents in the kitchen. My father was making tea, his movements slow and distracted. My mother forced a smile when she saw me, but her eyes gave her away. They looked tired, emotionally drained in a way I hadn't noticed before. I didn't waste time. "This ends today," I said, my voice calm but firm. My father sighed, setting the kettle down. "We didn't want to involve you," he said quietly. "We thought we could manage it." You shouldn't have to manage anything, I replied. This was supposed to be your sanctuary. Before they could respond, the front door opened loudly. My in-laws walked in, laughing about something, completely unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, about the tension waiting for them. My mother-in-law froze when she saw me standing there. "Oh, you're early," she said, her tone shifting instantly. "We need to talk," I said. The conversation that followed wasn't easy. They defended themselves, insisting they were improving the house, making it useful, even accusing me of overreacting. But for the first time, I didn't back down. I reminded them whose house it was, why it existed, and how far they had crossed the line. "This was a gift," I said, my voice steady. "Not an opportunity." My father-in-law scoffed. "You're being dramatic." "No," I replied. "I'm being clear." What they didn't expect, what none of us expected, was my father speaking up. "This is our home," he said, his voice stronger than I had heard in weeks. "And we want it back." The room went silent. My mother, sitting beside him, nodded slowly. "We appreciate your intentions," she added, though her voice trembled, "but this isn't what we wanted." For the first time, my in-laws had no quick response. No clever justification, just an uncomfortable silence that stretched longer than they liked. Within days, everything changed. The extra furniture was removed. The online listings were taken down. The constant stream of strangers stopped. It wasn't instant, it took effort, conversations, and a few tense moments, but slowly, the house began to feel like itself again. I spent a weekend helping my parents rearrange everything. We brought back the soft tones, the simple decor, the quiet charm that matched the rhythm of the ocean. My mom cooked while my dad fixed the old rocking chair on the porch. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was healing. One evening, we sat together watching the sunset again. The sky burned orange and pink, reflecting across the water like a painting. My mother leaned her head on my shoulder. "It feels like ours again," she whispered. I smiled, but there was something deeper in that moment, a lesson I hadn't expected to learn. Love isn't just about giving. It's about protecting what you give. Setting boundaries. Speaking up, even when it's uncomfortable. Because if you don't, even the most meaningful gifts can be taken, reshaped, and almost lost. As the waves rolled in, steady and unchanging, I realized something else too. This house was never just about the walls or the view. It was about giving my parents a place where they could finally rest. And this time, I was going to make sure nothing, and no one, took that away from them again.